You are watching or listening to Purham and Associates. For more information, go to www.rpurham.com. Hey, good day to you all. Welcome to Permanent Associates. I'm your host, Randy Purham. Hey, hope you all had a fantastic week so far and life is treating you well. And, yeah, you're having fun out there. Hey, got a special guest with us today. And we're kind of like picking up from the last time he was here because we kind of got into a little deep dive, but we kind of like ran out of time at the same time. So we kind of like picking back up on our last conversation, and we got none other than Troy Anderson with us today, and he is the author of the Trump Code: Exploring Time Travel, Nikola Tesla and the Trump Lineage. He is a Pulitzer Prize nominated investigative journalist, #1 best-selling faith words hatchet author of the Babylon Code and Trumpocalypse, #1 best-selling chosen books author of the Military Guide to Armageddon and the Military Guide to Disarming Deception, former executive editor of Charisma Magazine and Charisma Media, and reporter at the Los Angeles Daily News, and a frequent guest on many radio and television networks, including Newsmax TV, Daystar TV, CBN News, and Jewish Voice with Jonathan Bernis. He writes for Reuters, Newsmax, Town Hall, and other media outlets. He's the founder and president of the Inspire Literary Group and Inspire PR Agency, executive editor of the Return International, vice president and COO, of Battle Ready Ministries. He's founder and editor-in-chief of Prophecy Investigators and co-host of Frontline. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the summit, presenting others, Mr. Troy Anderson. Good morning, sir. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning, Randy. How you doing?
Oh, living a dream, sir. Living a dream. Well, somebody's dream, anyways. Troy, I gotta. Okay, so like I was saying, we was kind of like getting into some deep dive stuff last time you were on, and I gotta kind of like pick back up where we left off because I think it was like, ladies and gentlemen. If you go back in the archives, I believe it was like around November 15th, so it was shortly right after the election, the presidential elections, and Trump was reelected and everything else. And so we started getting into some prophetic things that was going on, and we was doing some revelation type of things. And so I want to kind of like pick back up on that, and I want to touch on Ezekiel 39, chapters 38, 39, and Revelations 9. And this is in reference to the war of Gog and Magog. And this is dealing with Israel. Talk to us about that, Troy, and what's going on there for the I guess you could say the uninitiated that's out there. Because I said, ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so Ezekiel 38 and 39 is known as the chapters about the Gog and Magog war. And so the idea is that Bible prophecy experts believe that at some point, what they believe is probably Russia teamed up with Persia or modern day Iran and some other Middle Eastern countries will attack Israel. And so today, I mean, for the first time in history, we see these nations all aligned together: Russia, Iran, Middle Eastern nations, perhaps even China now. And there's the discovery of massive natural gas and other oil reserves off the coast of Israel and in that area. So it's possible at some point that could happen. And of course, you've seen the aggression of Russia with Ukraine and that whole situation. President Trump's trying to bring that peaceful conclusion to that. But for the first time in history, we see all these nations aligned that the Bible seems to predict could be involved in this great war that actually God will intervene in and stop these forces, confuse the battle, and actually destroy the invading armies, is what Ezekiel 37 and 38 talk about.
Yes, and I actually had to jump over and pull out the Bible there and read it and kind of align it and everything else, because I said what is he talking about here? Because I actually got I got the book, I got the book right here. I was reading it, and so I said, huh, interesting. And so there is some interesting parallels there, and you're hearing Trump talk about these things, and he's strategically identifying, like, hey, you want to stop this war. We want you to stop this war, but in order for you to stop this war, we want something out of this. And ding, 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 ding. You got something that's of value to us, because we gave you all this money. We gave you all these resources. And so in order for us to be prosperous out of this deal, you got something under your feet, and it's these minerals and everything else. And so Ukraine is like, Zelensky's like, you know what, you son of a... and so he's now, he has to acquiesce to this. And so the Democrats are like, don't do it, and so they're like, and so he's trying to now renegotiate this whole deal, in front of the media. He goes to the White House and everything goes, and that blows up in his face. And now he goes back to Europe and the French and the UK and everybody else and their mother was like, you idiot. Trump is right. You have no cards in this fight, so you might want to take this deal. And so now here we are, fast forwarding, and Russia's like, you screwed up. So now we're going to attack you even more because the U.S. is not backing you on this play. So now he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. And this is also covered in the book a little bit here, that the way that the Ukraine, the country itself, is kind of like in this collapse, in a sense, that the Trump is seeing this, and he's like, I told you. So I'm going to let you fall even further, and now you have to come back and beg us to help you out. So it's kind of just it's a little weird to me, well, to the rest of the world in a sense. But I want you to talk to us about how Europe collectively is allowing this to unfold, because you talk about this in the book as well, and I want you to touch on that.
Well, yeah, I think what we're seeing here is that, Trump, he's the author of The Art of the Deal. He's a master negotiator. And so, as soon as he threatened to turn off the spigot of money, this 300 billion or whatever American taxpayers have spent on this, essentially this crazy war between Russia and Ukraine. And of course, I think there's about $100 billion or something like that's gone missing. And there's all kinds of questions about, fraud, waste, and abuse. He's discovered all this, corruption in our own federal government, the wasting of money. And so now, as soon as he threatened to cut off the spigot of money, then, Zelensky wanted to make this deal. And of course, it has to do with, mineral rights in Ukraine and, energy reserves and things like that. So hopefully America can recoup some of its, lost funds here through that deal and bring a peaceful conclusion to this terrible war. I think it's now claimed 1.2 million lives. I mean, it's just a very tragic situation. And so I think we should pray that, President Trump, that God will give him wisdom to bring this thing to a conclusion, and some kind of reasonable solution in terms of the borders and that kind of thing. But it's just exposed all this corruption that the Biden administration was involved in terms of Ukraine, and now European leaders are coming together and promising to spend more money on their own defense instead of America having to finance everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just amazing to me. I'm like, well, it's kind of like too little, too late now. Everything's drawing to a close, and now you want to like, oh, we're going to spend more money now. It's like, what are you spending money on? It's coming to an end. Like, okay, you're going to spend money on a drawdown? Okay, great. We appreciate that, but I want to turn our attention now to yeah, Ingersoll Ingersoll Lockwood. He plays a very pivotal part in the book here, and I wanted you to talk about his role in the book and the significance he plays with Baron Trump. And I'm opening up a door here that we're going to get into that we talked about last time with Nikola Tesla and time travel, because I kind of had something that popped in my head last night, and I was like, I want to talk about this. So go ahead and talk about Mr. Lockwood, if you will.
Yeah, so Ingersoll Lockwood is a lawyer and author who lived in the late 1800s. Abraham Lincoln gave him an appointment as the consular general to Hanover, Germany. So he had a government appointment, and he actually, his obituary was in the New York Times as a prominent attorney. And this is sort of the time of the popularity of the Alice in Wonderland novels. And so he wrote this series of books called the Baron Trump Collection. This is in the 1890s. And it's at the Library of Congress. And the drawing on the cover of the book shows this little boy named Baron Trump. And he looks strikingly like President Trump's son, who's also named Baron. Just their names are spelled a little bit differently. And he lives in Trump Castle on Fifth Avenue, New York City, where Trump Tower now stands 130 years later. And he's guided by Don, the master of all masters, and they go on time traveling adventures. And so there's been stories in Politico and Newsweek and Daily Mail over the last 8 years or so asking, is this somehow prophetic in nature? Maybe like, George Orwell's 1984. And what's really caught people's attention is the final book's called The Last President. And it says this populist president is elected. It says the anarchists and the socialists converge on Castle Trump, shouting death to the rich man. And there's protests and all kinds of chaos erupts. And so, we've now seen President Trump, elected, this populist president. And so it just seems like perhaps this was prophetic in nature. And there's a lot more to it, but those are sort of the basics.
Yes, absolutely. And as ladies and gentlemen, you got to go pick up this book, The Trump Code. It's It's a very interesting read. If you're into, I'm not gonna say science fiction because it's not science fiction, because it's actually it's very biblically based. It's a very biblically based book, but it ties in a lot of science into the parallels of the Bible, and so it's one of those like very deep reads, and your head, you will have a headache almost if you're not like into this kind of stuff on a regular basis like I am. I'm into this kind of stuff, so that's why I say I want to open up this door a little bit into time travel, because I think us as human beings, I think we actually get time travel confused in the physical sense. When we think about time travel, we're thinking about it in a physical sense of, is it physically possible to time travel versus mental time travel? Like when we go to sleep at night and we're dreaming, and it's like, okay, we just time travel somewhere because we're having these premonitions and we're having these visions of things, and God has took us somewhere, and now we come back and we write about it or we talk about it and everything else. We're prophesying about stuff that we actually was time traveled to be revealed to. So I think we kind of like get revealed things through our dreams versus in a physical sense that we like try to talk about or try to make come to fruition. Your thoughts? Am I crazy, or is am I?
Here. Yeah, so here's the amazing thing about it. So when people think of time travel, you think of Back to the Future, and
right.
They jump into the DeLorean, they dial back, and you go back in time. And so, there's actually been there was a professor at Princeton who wrote a book called Time Travel in Einstein's Universe. Of course, Nikola Tesla, who we talk about in the Trump Code, and Albert Einstein believed time travel was possible. And there's actually been a lot of academic research into this over the decades. And so I talk about all this in the Trump Code, and from the Bible, we know that God's outside of time and space, yeah. And there's that curious verse in Ephesians that talks about the saints already being seated in heavenly places, although we're here on earth. So if you think about if heaven or God is outside of time and space, then in a sense we're already in heaven, in the future. And there's also all these different verses in the Bible that seem to sort of hint at this. You've got that curious verse in Acts about Philip being in one location, he pops into another. Jesus appears in the middle of the room with the disciples. People sort of going here and there, and then you have all this sort of. I think there's like 11 different kind of rapture events throughout the Bible, beginning with Enoch all the way through to the big rapture, and is that a form of time travel? And of course, you have about 2,000 in the Bible is 2,500 prophecies have all come true in exacting detail. And so, did God just give them dreams and visions, or like maybe perhaps in the Apostle John's case, did he actually take him into the future and show him, the end time events that the Book of Revelation depicts? So it's a very interesting question. And so there is an interesting connection between Tesla and Donald Trump's family involving time travel, and that's how it sort of comes into play in this book.
Yeah, it is interesting, and in the book, Ingersoll talks about the last presidency, and Trump, he talks about being the last president. The media went to this frenzy of, he's talking about being the last. Oh, see, he's a dictator. He's going to take over the world, and he's the last president. But there's a parallel there, so it's like maybe he read the book, maybe he's being prophetic about something, maybe he's dropping a hint, and so. Troy, kind of talk about that a little bit there, and how what he's referencing to there about the last presidency.
Yeah, so the other sort of interesting connection here is, so Nikola Tesla is this genius inventor, lived in the 1800s and invented all kinds of different things. Our modern electric grid, came from his ideas, wireless communications, all kinds of different things. And so toward the end of his life in the 1940s, he was living in New York City from hotel to hotel. And actually, he was almost destitute at this point because many of his inventions were rejected by the powers that be at the time. Because he talked about 0-point energy, this idea you could pull energy from other dimensions. And of course, our modern economy is based on oil, gas, and electricity, and so all those things were suppressed. So he's living from hotel to hotel, and reporters would go interview him. And so at one point, this is like during World War II, the reporters asked him about he says, I've invented the death ray. And the idea was that if the Nazis attacked us with nuclear bombs like we attacked Japan on an airplane, this weapon potentially could, take out their air force from a distance. And so he died in 1943, as I recall. So I think it's just a few years before Trump's born. And he left like 80 trunks of research at these different hotels. And so the FBI actually called in Donald Trump's uncle, who's a highly respected professor of physics at MIT, to look at Tesla's research. And so he came back, and the official version was, I don't think there's really anything of national security interest here. But then all these Tesla files went missing, and later there's a number of books written about this. The History Channel did a special on the missing files of Tesla, and I interviewed the author of that book, Mark Cypher. And so Trump's uncle may have gotten access to some of this time travel kind of information and things like that. And so the idea is that the government's probably used these genius ideas of Tesla over the decades. There've been all kinds of top secret weaponry and technologies and that kind of deal. And so then here recently, with the congressional UAP hearings on Capitol Hill, the Sun, Britain's largest newspaper, they filed a Freedom of Information Request Act with the government and fought a legal battle for a few years. And then the Defense Intelligence Agency came back recently and said that they believe time travel is possible. It could explain how these UAPs are getting here through wormholes and quantum physics and that kind of thing. And so it's also an intriguing questions about what the government actually has and what they know, and to what extent is time travel actually possible.
Yes, and I found it all that to be very interesting. I watched it a couple years ago, and we talked about this in the last episode that I watched a documentary about Tesla and how Trump's uncle discovered all these different files in the different hotel living and everything else, and these other guys that went on this treasure hunt, if you will, ripping out walls and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting, discovering different files, and how Tesla was like he created like a little enigma of trails and to to like lead people to different things and discovering different books and stuff that he written over the years. And it led them to find that, you know, he was trying to lead them to not only the death ray, but, you know, other things that they're like, we don't know what he was trying to do with this or what he was trying to tell us. So we're not going to touch this. So we're going to just leave this alone. But the FBI, CIA, and of the MI6 and all these guys, they picked up on it. They're like, we're going to play with this and figure this out, you know, okay, thank you. And here we are, you know, still, you know, fiddling around with it. But I want to talk about real quick, Butler, Pennsylvania, because I said, oh, this is interesting. The Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Butler, the correlation that you drew in the book, I said, wow, I never would have thunk it, because no one looks at these kind of things, you know, on the surface. You know, they don't peel back the onion like that. So, talk to us about Butler, the significance of Butler in particular, because people, once again, you gotta go pick up this book. I'm not trying to give away the whole book, but you gotta go pick up the book.
Well, yeah, that was the. Yeah, it was a very interesting thing. I was actually finishing up writing the book when the attempted assassination of President Trump occurred in Butler, Pennsylvania, back last July. You know, of course, everybody knows what's his name, Matthew Crooks was on the roof, and somehow he got up there. People knew he was up there, but he's sort of like almost like allowed to be up there. And he fires off these shots. Trump feels a bullet hit his ear, and then he ducks. And Secret Service, pile on top of him. But what's interesting about there's several things very interesting about this whole situation. Is first of all, in the book of Leviticus, it talks about the consecration of the priest. They put blood on their ear, their thumb, and their feet. And so in this situation, President Trump, touched his, hand to his ear, his thumb, and then somehow in this whole thing, his shoes fell off. So like on holy ground. And so I actually let off the Trump code with, it was some kind of, in a prophetic sense, some kind of consecration rite that God was consecrating him for some kind of prophetic mission. And so that was very interesting. And then the other thing that just came out recently, there was a story, I think in the, the New York Post. And actually an acquaintance of mine, Doug Hagman, a private investigator, he had a whole team look at, they tracked cell phones, people visiting, Post just came out like a week ago, said that there was a number of people cell phones tracked him, taking him to like gun shooting ranges and meeting with them and all kinds of things like this. So it calls into question exactly what happened in this assassination, and was there some kind of involvement of the government in this? Was this allowed to happen? And there's a lot of questions about that. In fact, I just ordered a book on this topic, and they sort of came to the same conclusion, is that it seems that maybe Crooks didn't act alone in this attempted assassination. Yeah,
it's very interesting, and job well done. Putting all this stuff together, because like I say, it's biblically, it's Bible, science, and almost borderline conspiracy theories. It's like a triangle, a three-dimensional triangle come together, and it all makes sense. I'm just like, but damn. It's a very good read. It's a very good read. I appreciate it, and like I said, I love this kind of stuff. So I thoroughly enjoy it. But tell people how they can follow you and support you and pick up this phenomenal book, sir.
Yeah, so I've now written 7 books, 6 of them are #1 bestsellers, and you can go to troyanderson.us. We've also got some great newsletters on there, revelationwatchers.com, prophecyinvestigators.com, Battle Ready News, and or you can, the books are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere books are sold.
Okay, awesome. Troy, thanks again. This is great catching up, and yeah, we gotta do this again. And when I finish, I want people to actually drop in the comments when you get the book and you got questions or whatnot. I will compile those questions and bring Troy back on, and we'll go through those questions, and we'll do like a Q&A type of thing. Because I know people have questions. They're like, wait, I got a question about. We'll do that next time around. So, but thanks again, Troy. I appreciate you, and be safe out there. God bless you, and thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. God bless you too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Troy Anderson. Hey, I'm telling you, this is a awesome read so far. I'm loving this book. It's mind blowing. But hey, check it out, pick it up, and do all that good stuff. But folks, it's Friday, and almost forgot. Almost forgot. I'm so sorry. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. This is the time we take to thank our men and women who are serving our nation around the world, sacrificing and committing their time and freedom in protecting our freedoms and our Constitution, our way of life. We thank you and we salute you, and we wish you a safe journey back home to your friends, families, and loved ones, wherever they may be. So, with that being said, all right, it's Friday, and I jump out of here early. So, I will catch you all on Monday, God willing. God bless. Ciao, ciao. Be safe. Holla. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today. Please be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and share, and go to rpurham.com for more information. See you all soon. Take care. God bless.